Hello, everyone. Onegaishimasu. Tonight, I'm going to read you number 20 of the Shokushu, Intoku. Just like the number 1 can never become 0, our words or actions never disappear once they are created. A good action causes a good result, and a bad action causes a bad result. This always returns to ourselves. A good action means acting without expecting a return or getting attention from people or bringing happiness and success to ourselves and to our descendants. This is called Intoku in the Japanese language. The highest form of Intoku is to practice the way of the universe, leading others and supporting the practice of this principle. So, what do you suppose he means when he says this always returns to ourselves? So I had a student ask me one time, he gave an example. He said, okay, so this one person that I'm aware of that is a very selfish, greedy, manipulative man, but he's living a very long and successful life and makes a lot of money. And I have this other friend that is very generous with his money and with his time and his love. And he was recently killed in a plane crash. So then that means what Toi Sensei is saying here is not true, right? So this is a misunderstanding of this teaching. And I'd like to address it just a bit. Toi Sensei used to say to us over and over, I teach you everything. I don't have any secrets from you. Only you have secrets from yourself. Because you don't understand the mystery of what I'm teaching. You know, he always said to us, didn't he, over and over and over, the purpose of our practice is to become one with the universe. Haven't you heard that hundreds of times? Toi Sensei taught this constantly. The purpose of our practice is to be one with the universe. So if you're one with the universe and you insult someone, or you dismiss someone, or you dishonor someone, or just treat someone badly, who are you treating badly? Who are you dishonoring? Who are you dismissing? Yourself. That's what that means. That's why. Every time we do something, say something or do something, I taught you before, we are putting that in our subconscious mind. Whatever we do today, we'll do double tomorrow because we're always practicing something, right? So if you have the idea that the world is just a relative thing and you've done a few nasty things in your life, you're going to be dodging when they're going to come back at you. No, they're already in you. They came back at you the moment you did that. And you have to carry that. We have to carry everything that we have said or done for our whole life. This is what this teaching means. This is the meaning of Intoku. He's not talking about, see, people think karma is, the idea of karma is retribution. We don't need retribution because it's already here. When we do something that is positive and supports other people, that is positive and supporting ourselves. And it puts more positive and supportive material in our subconscious mind. And tomorrow we will be more positive and more supportive. That's the mystery of oneness. That's what Toi Sensei was teaching. Okay, more later. Let's do some deep breathing. Please support yourself. Close your eyes. I received a question, a letter, an email question from a student. I won't tell you who it was, but it was a very nice email. And he wanted to know where I learned all this stuff. He says, maybe Koichi Toi Sensei did not teach this to everyone, or maybe not everyone heard it carefully. This was his remark, not mine. And he went on to say how important he thought this kind of, how important this teaching is for us to practice. Toi Sensei's teaching, not my teaching, Toi Sensei's teaching. So, you know, just like all of you are friends, and many of you are colleagues and what you call peers, right? You're all peers. So I also have peers that I've been training with for many, many years. David Shaner Sensei, Clarence Chin Sensei, Kevin Tabata Sensei, Koji Kashiwara Sensei. These are my peers. These are my friends. So we each have a different way of teaching. But just like you, I don't criticize my friends for how they teach, or I don't want to, right? So this kind of thing, look, when I was with Suzuki Sensei, we were both younger. He was still older than me, but we were both younger. We went to Japan all the time and we trained with Toi Sensei. And while we trained with Toi Sensei, if I didn't understand something, and there was a lot I didn't understand, not just because of my terrible Japanese, but also because Toi Sensei was a very deep philosopher and very difficult to understand sometimes. So Suzuki Sensei would try to explain to me while we were training if I had questions. But afterward, sometimes for years afterward, but always afterward, Suzuki Sensei would grill me on what Toi Sensei said and what Toi Sensei was pointing to. Because, you know, Toi Sensei was always talking about the mystery. He was always talking about oneness. He was always talking about what is behind what we see when we look at each other. Behind what we see when we conceptualize something. When we have an idea about something. What's behind that? What did that come out of? Toi Sensei was always pointing to that, which was the source of the form and the concepts and the philosophy and the teaching. Also, in recent years, Sayaka Rinder has been kind enough to help me with retranslating much of Toi Sensei's teaching into English. And that has given me a very intimate feeling of his experience and what he was pointing to as his experience whenever he was teaching us. I think maybe some students have the idea that Shugyo practice is an advanced stage of Keiko practice. So Keiko, as you know, is self-improvement, right? Self-improvement. So people think, oh, well, so this Shugyo is spiritual self-improvement. It's the highest level of Keiko self-improvement. No, I'm sorry, I don't think so. I don't think so. Because it doesn't work that way. Because we don't chase after a self-improvement goal in spiritual practice. If we do that, we never get there, because there is no such thing. It only exists in a relative condition. So it's fine for polishing your Shomunuchi Kokinage movements. It's fine for swinging Bokken better and better and better. But I'll tell you, Suzuki-sensei will never approve of your cutting until you cut with Shugyo. you cannot, there's no such thing as perfection in the relative condition. Whereas in the absolute condition, everything is perfect. Everything is perfection already, with or without you. Thank you very much. I don't need to improve in that area because I was born, as were you, in your original condition. It doesn't need any improving. It doesn't need any polishing. It doesn't need any correcting. So this is Shugyo practice. And I think last week I was talking about the craft of Aikido and the art of Aikido. Maybe even I send you out the transcript already. This is Keiko Shugyo. So even in the everyday world that we work in and play in and live in, we are surrounded constantly by Keiko and Shugyo, by craft or technique or skill and art or connection. Connection is not, it's a difficult word because it seems like it's connecting two things together, like plugging in an outlet, but it's not connecting the two things together. Connection is recognizing. Connection is universal mind recognizing itself in another, not just another person, in everything. A tree, a sidewalk, a car, a turtle, a dog. It's all same. Of course, human being is something different, okay? But since we tend to anthropomorphize everything, we tend to turn everything into making everything into humanness. I want to emphasize that's not what I'm talking about. I'm not talking about making a tree, giving it a human characteristics, or giving a sidewalk human characteristics. No, because I'm not talking about human characteristics. That's not what the connection is. The connection is between original and original, of which there is no difference, of which there is no dividing line, there is no separation, there is no distinctive, definitive difference. Oneness is oneness, not sort of, not kind of. So of course, that's not what we see and feel and hear and smell and taste, but that's what's underneath it. That's the source of it. So when we really feel connected with something, we are in our source. We are in the base, the ground of being. We're in that condition when we recognize when we connect. So, you know, when Toi Sensei writes this Intoku business, he's just reminding us of that, right? It's not like it's not a lecture. He's not telling you, look out, the boogeyman will get you if you're a bad person. That's for children. That's not what this is about. So, please remember, the key to the mystery is oneness. This is, I'll tell you again and again and again, this is what we're practicing. This is what Toi Sensei was teaching. Okay, I want to hear you say something about this now. I want you to be brilliant. So I would like to have, I would like to hear Tracy Reasoner say something about this. Tracy Reasoner Sensei, please speak to us about this original condition. Or if you'd like, you can ask a question.
Well, Sensei, this is one of those subjects that we've talked about privately, and instructor, you know, when you said there, you know, you named a few instructors and said that you're, you know, they're your peers. However, sometimes you can find some similarities between instructors, and I see some similarities between you and some of the instructors you named. However, you have a very unique perception on this, and I think one thing that that others may not be doing, and that's something we've discussed about, that you've always taught Aikido as a spiritual practice where others do not. And so the question I have is, why did you select Aikido as your way of transmission? And what do you see in the future?
Okay, thank you for that question. I didn't answer your question. I didn't select Aikido. It selected me. You know, I told you before, I think. I've told this before, but you know, when I left a 3-year meditation retreat, I wanted to go to a monastery. I fancied myself to be monkish already. Monk material, see? I thought I was pretty hot monkey stuff. And my teacher wisely said, no. You don't get to do that. That's avoidance. What you need to do is you need to get married, have children, get a job, have responsibility, and wake up. So I thought, well, you know, I had no idea how that would happen. But I did come to Hawaii and got married and had children. And after a couple of years after the leaving the 3-year retreat, I was still not finding, you know, the right path. I wasn't finding any path that satisfied me. I was sitting every morning and I was working hard and I was being a regular everyday Joe. There was a very famous Diamond Sangha Zen group here in Maui, and Aitken Roshi, Robert Aitken Roshi was the Roshi, you know. And so I asked my teacher, can I go do that? Can I go do Zen? And he goes, no. That's not what you need, he said. So he told me, you need a Zen-based martial art. So I didn't really know this is Aikido, but I asked someone at a monastery, at a Buddhist priest downtown. And I told him that's what I was looking for. And he said, oh, you need Suzuki Sensei right up there in Wailuku. So I went up and signed up and started training. And you know, I didn't come to Aikido because I thought, oh, Aikido, I love the philosophy. Oh, Aikido, I love this idea of blending. Oh, Aikido, I love the idea of nonviolent. No, I mean, I like all those ideas are fine, but that's not, I didn't know anything about it. They just told me, go here. I considered the universe telling me, go there. So I went there, and sure enough, within 6 months, Suzuki Sensei returned from Japan and began to kick my butt. And it was very, very rewarding having my butt kicked by Suzuki Sensei. He was so good at it. And I just loved him so much. And I'm so grateful. Anyway, you know, that's to answer your question. I didn't choose. But I really see that why my teacher from the retreat told me that this was what I should do. Because isn't it true that Aikido shows us the way to live in a dual, non-dual world? To be able to live and practice Keiko and Shugyo at the same time. To be able to be in a Shoga world, but also in a Taiga world. Not only a relative world, but an absolute world. Being able to experience it directly. See, that's what I love so much about Aikido. And so that's all I teach. I'm always just teaching that you can do both. Don't try to make the absolute the extension of the relative. It's got nothing to do with it. It's in charge of it, that's all. So, but many people, I think, maybe have a little trouble with that idea. And I think maybe because it's just an idea for them. If you don't experience this, there's no way you can really understand. It's like I was talking about the Intoku, you know, why does it stay in your mind? Why does it come back to haunt you? Because it's in your subconscious mind, not because a truck is going to run over you someday. That is childish, magical thinking. That's not it. That's not it at all. Okay. You got me going, Tracy. Thank you very much.
You're welcome, Sensei.
Who else, if you have a comment or question? All right, here we go. Oh, I'm just landed. It's like a roulette wheel, I have a wheel on my mouse, and I pushed it and it landed right on Charles Boyer. So, Carlos?
Hello, Sensei. Okay, well, thank you. Good evening. So it's always a very good reminder for me that this idea that effort is required, and yet we have to let go of effort as well. It's always kind of confounding me too. But so I thought I'd just say that. But I wanted to ask you, so in terms of Shugyo, what role would you say that like satisfaction plays in this process? In other words, you know, being satisfied with what's happening, how things are going, versus not being satisfied, where we're you know, not quite getting it, not quite understanding. That kind of thinking or experiencing.
Thank you. Let me say, there's two ways to look at this. Okay, so we have the desires, and they're designed to bring us greater success and more pleasure, which is fine. And when we have an abundance of success with those kind of desires, and pursuits, ambition, and so forth, we feel satisfied. There's a sense of satisfaction there. But it's fleeting. As you know, it can be snatched away from us just like that by some misfortune, some pain, some difficulty. However, and somebody actually wrote me this question actually this week, so I'm repeating it. I hope she doesn't mind. There is a deep yearning that we have from birth. And that produces a sense of something missing, something available, but somehow out of reach. And that yearning can also be satisfied. But it's not the same kind of satisfaction. That yearning can be deeply resolved. And every time you sit in the source, every time you rest in the one point in the lower abdomen, you are experiencing this great satisfaction. I think that's what you're referring to. However, maybe I would like to add, because we're practicing meditation now so much and key breathing, and we have ideas about that and what it will bring us. We practice this stuff with the idea of a temporal satisfaction. I don't feel quite right, I better go meditate so I feel better. Yeah. Or trying to, like heal ourselves from our misfortune. This is so mistaken. This is such bullshit. This is not to be done. This is a waste of your time. You're totally looking in the wrong direction. So we need to avail ourselves of the source of our true yearning, which is at the same time the source of our true satisfaction. And in fact, when they come together, we see that the yearning was the satisfaction. It's not different. It's the same. It's this. So you can imagine Tohei Sensei spending his every waking moment contemplating how to share this with other people without allowing them to mislead themselves. And even he would tell us after 50 years of this, he looked out at all of us and said, no one understands. I've been sharing this mystery with you for all these years and you don't understand. I remember sitting with him when he would talk to Suzuki Sensei, and he said to Suzuki Sensei, do you think, people understand? And Suzuki Sensei was very polite and said, oh yeah, Sensei, don't worry, they understand. He said, no, they don't. No, they don't. Very few understand. Because it's not something you can cognize. You can't just understand it. You have to actually do it. You have to live it. And then maybe it happens. Better chance for it to happen. Not cause and effect now. Okay, thank you for your question.
Thank you, Sensei.
Okay, so I'm gonna have to go to Toby Vogel's. I hear him calling to me. I think he wants to talk. Hi, Toby.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Poor. Okay. I don't know where to start, Sensei. I'm feeling like a kindergarten student attending university college here. It's poor. So it's very easy to understand that what you sow is what you reap. But now you're saying that's not it. That's not it. Not quite.
Not how it happens.
How it happens. Okay.
So, but not in the way that people think. Only because they're looking at it incorrectly. That's what you see is not what you get. Is what I'm saying. Just because your senses tell you, just because your small mind, logical mind, says that's how it is, doesn't make it how it is. We cannot be satisfied with that. We have to go for the deeper satisfaction. Now, please continue.
And last time you sent the text by Ken MacLeod, where and it also said, like, you often tell us you have to ask the question behind the question. Yeah. So so that not only sounds very difficult, is very difficult, and you're talking about the yearning to you talked about the yearning to discover something, and it sometimes feels like that fire is burning low, like you want to. So do I want to discover? Do I really want to discover the question behind the question, or am I satisfied with the superficial, with the idea of what you sow is what you reap? That's enough. That's fine. That idea, that concept is enough. And it feels at the moment, it feels like that yearning to discover more or to go deeper has leveled out, or a kind of, it's not burning that much at the moment. The yearning to discover more is a bit gone. Like, it feels like the satisfaction has turned into accepting the way it is now. It's fine. Just leave it like this. This is okay.
Okay, so can I say something?
Yes.
Because I think it's not either or. I think the way you're thinking of it is you're separating it, but it's not like that. It's just fine. It's just fine to continue exactly as you are. You don't have to do anything special. Look, Toby, what we're talking about is being in touch with our feelings, not our thinking, not our cognizing, not our intellect, but our feelings in our body, being in touch with what's happening, but not to do anything with it. I'm not suggesting that you need to be more passionate or you need to, you are what you are. It's just great. You can let me make all the noise. See? You're free. Do you see what I'm getting at there? You don't have to do anything. So, yeah, so not only is everyone different, but each one of us is different throughout our lives in many different ways, right? So we go through all these different permutations of excitement and depression and anxiety and fear and deep pleasure and satisfaction and so forth and so on. We have all this stuff just keeps going and happening. And when the shock of my life is when my teacher, when I asked him what enlightenment, what it would be like after I got enlightened, he said, "Oh, just the same." I'm like, what? That just crashed my whole, and burned my whole philosophy. I had it all, I had images of what it was going to be like. I'd read all the books, I'd seen all the movies, so to speak. And Toby, we're all affected by that. And unfortunately, well, I won't say unfortunately, but I'm your teacher right at the moment. Let's just say it that way. And this is all I know to teach, because this is what's happening in my life and has happened in my life. And probably this is all you're ever going to hear from me, is this kind of stuff, right? And then I'll die. And all this time, you just sit and listen. Even when I'm not there, you're sitting alone. Or when you're sitting with your father and he's talking to you about something, just listen. That is the magic. That is the one thing that none of us do very well, because we're looking for some sort of satisfaction. The actual desire for that satisfaction is the satisfaction. That's what I told Carlos. It doesn't come after. It's already there. You're already experiencing it. But maybe you don't recognize it. So getting in touch with what's going on inside of us is really important. And that's happening. So congratulations. Okay?
Yeah, okay.
Well, did you want to ask anything before I?
No, I'll get a chance later on, I guess, Sensei.
Well, of course. And you can, anytime. I want to hear someone else here from Europe, maybe. About Christoph. Mute, unmute.
Yeah, I'm unmuted and it's remuted. Good morning, Sensei. Good evening.
Hi.
I could not attend last time, but I read the transcript you circulated, and now I'm listening at the discussion, and I have a collection of things coming to mind. It's a bit, it's not necessarily coherent, but no. Well, for instance, there's this expression in English, gut feeling and intuition. There's the same intuition word in French, and sometimes we all have to make decisions in our lives, and we don't necessarily have all the clues, but we go on and we take a direction, and well, this is how I saw the things with me when I had to make important decisions for myself. Sometimes I looked inside, and I thought I found some reasons to take a decision for one option rather than the other, but it was very difficult for me to explain why. So and this is I'm developing here to illustrate what I'm trying to say about intuition. Something else that came to my mind. but it's a long story. I don't want to elaborate too much, but it's about what you were saying on listening at what is going on inside ourselves. Long story short, I was once in Africa, in Namibia, and I was watching animals from a distance, etc. And these animals were it was the end of the day. These animals were coming to a pond for drinking, and I sit where I was for 4 hours watching these animals, and I didn't know what was going on with me, but I had the impression that what I was watching was deeply connected with something inside me that I didn't know about. So I've just shared with you this eclectic collection of things that crossed my mind when I was reading your transcript, and yes, well, there are a few more, but I don't want to monopolize the floor.
No, very, very interesting. Thank you for sharing that. Yeah, I was talking to Toby just about, and you know, you hear me say this kind of thing all the time, but our practice, the purpose of our practice is, when Toyson says become one with the universe, the purpose is to be in touch with what's happening inside us, because what's happening inside us is a reflection of how we're interpreting what's happening outside of us, how we're receiving it. In other words, what's in our subconscious mind, because that's the filter that it comes out of and goes back through. That's our screen, right? So maybe when you were watching the animals in Africa for 4 hours, your screen kind of just went away for a while. So you have some kind of feeling of direct connection. And this is what Shinichi Toi Sensei is always starting by shaking hands for our seminar. He wants us to experience direct connection with no screen, with no intention, with no need to do anything, or, you know, inhabit the other world, the world of the other person, manipulate it or control it or do anything to it, but just to be with it, just to connect with it. And then as long as we're connecting like this, even if things aren't going well, they're going well. Okay, thank you. You know, I'd like to hear from.
Okay.
Oh, you want to say something, please?
Recently,
Oh.
I lost you for the last few minutes for connection issues.
Say what?
Technical issues. No, I had technical problems with my computer. Sorry. Thank you very much.
Yona.
Hello. Hello, Sensei. Hello, everyone. I have a burning question. Yes. Do you hear me?
Yes.
How to live without expectation, especially when you treat somebody well. So in this circle, you expect that you will have a good feedback, as you can say. So it's my question.
Well, so I just read Intoku. How to not expect reward?
Yes.
Well, I think that you cannot make yourself not expect reward. I think it's a natural result of how you do what you do. See, in other words, it's not the expectation of reward comes after you do it. So if you do it for a result, then you will demand the result. You will expect, you will desire, you will wish for the result. But if you do it because it's there to be done, just to do it, because it's there and it needs doing. You wash the dishes because they're dirty and they're there and they have to be washed. And then you put them away. But you don't have to stand in front of the cupboard and go, wow, I am really something that I did that. You know, we don't do that. So we have examples of this all the time in our daily life. We do things often just because they're there and they need to be done. There are people that do the dishes complaining all the time. Oh, I shouldn't have to do these darn dishes all the time, you know, or housework or whatever, you know, something. Having to drive to work. Oh, it's so hard to have to drive. Yeah, you're lucky to have a job. You know, it's always looking at it in a very selfish way, looking at our action in a selfish way that later on comes back to bite us. Later on, we're disappointed. So it's the way that you do the thing. And I think in a way, when you're still asking me like, well, how do I do that? It's like you do it by noticing. You do it by noticing what you're doing. Being in touch with yourself, being in touch with your feelings, being in touch with how you really feel about what you're doing. Not just about the other person, but how you feel about yourself doing this. How do you envision that? How does that work in your identity? See? Well, these are things that don't even need to be spoken about so much. If you're doing the work, if you're doing the practice, these things are constantly bubbling up and resolving, so that even if even if we put a lot of negative material in our subconscious mind, through meditation, of course, we're always putting plus material in our subconscious mind if we're practicing, but also when we're sitting, and these things bubble up and get resolved, things get burned off of the subconscious mind. The negative things just don't have any power anymore. And that releases energy into your system because they're taking up a lot of energy. They're very busy. They're like a virus. They're in there and they're doing all this work to you. So, you know, all of that, you have to sit more. That's what, whenever I ask Suzuki Sensei a question, he would always tell me, oh, you need to breathe some more. So yes, of course, we want to have answers, but the answers come from where the answers come from. Where do they come from? Where do answers come from? If you know to ask the question, then you know the answer. I'm not saying don't ask questions, but it is there, right here, for you. Okay?
Thank you, Sensei.
Okay, so we're about finished. Thank you very much, everyone. And I think you got my note. I think everyone got my note. I hope so. Please read the last thing I sent out. We're not going to open, we're not able to open our dojo now. In fact, we finally got a hold of the county of Maui today and they said, no, absolutely not, you're not permitted. So we can train outside like we'll do next Sunday, a week from Sunday, in my house, but we can't go in the dojo at all. So we're not allowed yet. So we'll be continuing with these classes online. So let's enjoy ourselves doing this. Thank you very much.